Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you had a smooth transition back from spring break and extended spring break. It looks like the vast majority of you did. Had a really good time going through your discussion posts and reviewing those and having some interaction with you. Make sure to review my comments on your actual discussion. You'll see those sort of in the grades section. Make sure to go back and take a look at those. I thought a lot of you had some really interesting remarks. Just thinking about Joshua Ungerecht's interview, a lot of you had interaction with him before, and so hopefully it was helpful for you to go back and hear maybe some of those same things or sort of learn something that you didn't hear before. And for those of you that this was your first time hearing him, I hope that that was helpful to you. He is very bright, and I like his background, that he's not the traditional investor. He doesn't have a background in business or finance, but came into this even after college. And while all of you are in an investments class now, that's just a helpful example for you that it can be mastered. It takes some time, but you have the tools at your disposal to do that. A lot of you commented on his views on retirement, and that is probably one of the most interesting things to take away from that. It's sort of not a conventional or a traditional view, and if you ever have an opportunity to interact with him, that might serve as an icebreaker. Bring that up. And for those who are interested in maybe working with him at some point, interviewing him, working with the company or interning, just let me know and maybe we can try to set something up for you to have a conversation with him or the company. I'm not sure how they're faring currently with sort of the way that the market is today with uncertainty, but it would be good for you if you are interested in something like that to reach out and try to see if that might be something that works. Thinking about your other discussion posts and your stock track update, it was interesting to go through and read some of the comments that you posted. Some of you are changing your strategy altogether. Others are sort of just pivoting and adjusting. Some of you are leaning into your strategy. One of the things that I want to comment on here is that here is where you get to put your strategy to the test. So if your strategy is not taking into account sort of these emotional turns, a bear market, bull market, a recession, recovery, growth, if your strategy is not taking into account these good things, your strategy needs to change. It needs to get better. And so what I want to encourage you to do here is when you put in your game plan, when you put in your strategy, when you put in your buy and your sell rules, at times like these, this is where you're actually supposed to be able to lean into that and not just change things. You shouldn't have to break your habit or break your game plan. What you want to do is you want to have a strategy that you're able to use to refine and lean into. And this is why you have sell rules. This is why you have buy rules. So when some of you mentioned that you were changing your strategy, you simply meant that you were adjusting, maybe that you were selling more stocks than you had previously sold, or you were buying more than you had previously purchased. And that's not a fundamental change. And in fact, in today's market with all the uncertainty, it probably makes sense to be more of in a cash position, that you are mostly out of the market and are waiting on some key factors to show indicators that the market is going to increase again. And so make sure that you are mindful of those things, but build a strategy that's suitable for all markets. And that's what you want to keep in mind here. So be weary of just scrapping everything, right? When a sports team, when you scrap everything, if you're down in the first half, that's not always a good thing. You want to lean into your game plan and sort of chip away. Remember the strategies that you put into place. And if you didn't have one before, now is evidence that you need one. So lean into that. Build your game plan. Keep your buy and sell rules. Don't throw it out, especially in the midst of uncertainty. Rather, sharpen it. and I think that would be most helpful to you. Well, this week we'll have another 3 discussion posts. One is on bonds, so very similar to your work in ETFs and mutual funds last week, but this one you're going to sort of fixate on bonds for a bit. But I want you to consider, why are bonds important to the investor? I want you to think about credit default swaps, and we'll have some interaction there. And also how to even begin. How are bonds rated? Just key characteristics of bonds. And the reason that I'm doing these, I'm sort of building you up and preparing you for the final that's coming up in 5 weeks, including this week. You'll have things like ETFs and bonds and mutual funds, things that we weren't able to cover in person. I still want to get you those things before the actual final hits. And in the coming weeks, I'll also send you a study guide that you'll be able to use. Another discussion post that you'll have this week, you'll upload a video similar to this one that I'm doing now, 6 to 10 minutes with your CMBI paper. You're essentially just giving an overview, keep the same format, and you're just walking through the outline. Hit the main points. So what's the company or the industry or security that you're doing? Give a brief history of the company or that industry. Give the financial or statistical information. Why is that data important to your portfolio? And once that analysis is complete, here's where you want to recommend whether this is a good buy or not a good buy at this particular point in time. And keep in mind today's market. So many of you did this really well in your CMBI already, and you're just doing this and sort of presenting that. So not much work there because you already completed the paper. Now you are just giving a short presentation on it to your classmates. My recommendations for recording that, what I'm doing here is I'm recording this short video on my iPhone. You see everything behind me. Trying to be a little bit professional in the video. But then I'm going to upload it to a YouTube, my personal YouTube account, and then I'm going to upload that link into the discussion post, and so you'll have an opportunity to see that. So you can do that, and there's other ways to do that as well, but that's one that you want to keep in mind. Now, one other thing that you want to consider is diversification. Our final discussion post this week is going to be on diversification, and we'll unpack that together. Do some research online. Some hold a view of diversification that is a popular view, a positive view that suggests that you consider diversification. And I'm actually in Dr. MacArthur's office right now, and he might be walking in just a second. But diversification, so you want to keep in mind, some recommend diversification. Others argue that diversification, while it does hedge your risk, it also can increase or can decrease your amount of gain, the opportunity for gain. So think through those things. Think through, do I want to have more diversification or less diversification? What are the pros and the cons of doing that? Of course, you have some assignments due this evening with your CMBI report and also your treasure principal report. Keep those things in mind. And if you have any questions, of course, please send me an email, contact me. I'll be happy to talk. All right. I hope you guys have a good week.